Hello, my name is Fmarie, and I am taking Composition 2 online. My topic for my research paper is the No Child Left Behind Act. I chose this because I originally wanted to go to school to be a music teacher, but I chose not to go because they're trying to take music and arts out of the schools because instead of funding things that can help students, they're trying to mash all of the money into standardized tests instead of teaching kids what they need to know. They're focusing on prepping kids for these tests instead of teaching them the actual work that's in the tests. My hypothesis is the No Child Left Behind Act is not producing the outcome the government had intended it to. All of the research that I found is distinctly pointed to this is the problem. They're focusing too much on one thing. My research paper is to target teachers, parents, local administration for schools, the school board itself, for communities, and to show them that the efforts they're making to focus on these tests is having little to no accomplishment. They need to find a new way to either tackle the tests or find a new way to grade the schools, because these tests are hurting the kids and it's not fair to the children. I spoke with one of my personal teachers from my junior year in high school. We had a really long, in-depth conversation, and we agreed that local educators and parents should agree that these tests need to be changed. How can you test a child with a standardized test that is prepped and pre-taken by the teachers, and the teachers can't even pass them? How can you expect a child to stay out of trouble and study if they don't have a creative outlet between classes or after school? Not all kids are athletic. Not all kids are going to play sports. Not all kids are in the chess team. Not all kids understand reading and math to a level where they can join the math club or the book club. And how are they going to have scholarships to go to college if they can't do any of these things? If they can't write a 6-page essay explaining Newton's theory, or if they can't catch a football. A lot of kids go to school on scholarships for music. It's not fair to those that can't go for music or theater. To validate that point, in No More Rock and Roll High School, written by Andrew Hamp, he makes the mention of the lack of music and arts programs can have the trickle-down effect. They can hamper the amount of college enrollment. Again, scholarships. How can kids go to college without scholarships? And a good portion of those scholarships are music scholarships. In leveling localism and racial equality through the No Child Left Behind Act, a journal of law reform by Erica Wilson, she mentions parents being able to choose which school their children go to if they live on the boundaries of 2 school districts. I have a personal reason for agreeing with this. I had a best friend that went to Fleming Island High School, which is the new school they had put in our freshman year, and I went to Clay High School, which was the local high school. We originally planned on joining chorus together, joining drama together, and they separated us to 2 different schools because she lived on the Fleming Island Clay High border. It wasn't even fair. She got in all kinds of trouble because she didn't get along with her teachers. She didn't understand how they were trying to teach her. We had known these other teachers our whole lives. There are a lot of credible sources on all these subjects, but one that I really liked was by the U.S. Department of Education, describing how in most recent studies, a lot of fourth graders still cannot read on a proficient level because people are focusing too much on standardized testing and not getting kids on the reading level they need to be at. Kids need individual attention. You cannot expect children to learn all at the same level, at the same speed, with the same information. In Maine, the local news did a report called Maine Releases the Latest Education Accountability Results that shows there's very little improvement in standardized tests, even with them raising their targets. Again, if a teacher can't pass this test, how do you expect a student to pass this test? How do you expect your school grades to stay up if you keep making the difficulty levels of the test harder and harder every year? In Time magazine, Annie Murphy Paul wrote an article, "Relax, it's just a test," which shows why many students are overstressed over standardized testing. Even with coming into school early and eating breakfast and relaxing and sleeping, getting a good night's sleep the night before, they're still failing. And they're failing because they're stressed. They're stressed because if they fail, they get held back, or they won't graduate, or the teachers that have too many students that don't pass these tests will lose their jobs. I had to sign an agreement with my principal that if I did not pass the reading FCAT my junior year, the third time I took it in high school, I was not going to walk at graduation and I was not going to graduate. Do you know how unfair that is? At this point in my research, I think I found clearly enough evidence that supports my hypothesis. I feel there's no more reason to research this because it's only going to validate my reason even more that they need to change this act, or at least change the approach that they have for it. Children are suffering because the government is trying too hard to get them all on the same level with the same information, not taking into account that children learn on different levels, at different speeds, and learn better with different teachers. Focusing too much on these tests is not good for the kids. It's only going to hamper the education. It's only going to hinder the majority of the education field, the children and teachers alike. What does the government plan to do? That's what I want to know. I want to learn more on how they plan on fixing this. So I'll still do more research on it just for that reason. But ultimately, my conclusion is they need to take away standardized testing and find a new way to grade the schools, or they need to change the act altogether. Find a new way to help pay for the schools. Florida uses our lottery to come up with a lot of money for the schools. Kids do a lot of fundraising, and with this recession, the fundraising is not really working, so government needs to step up their act and change some things.